guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. You know, one of the favorite things that amuses me about conservatives, just like the left, just like so many people do today, they say, well, we need to fix this immediate problem instead of looking at what happened to cause the problem in the first place. To me, it's kind of like if you take a puzzle, a brand new puzzle out of the box and you try to put it together and the picture doesn't turn out the way you thought it should be, instead of making sure that the box picture matches the puzzle picture, they start complaining that the pieces aren't right. Before you even realize, hey, there's a bigger problem here. The picture doesn't match the puzzle in the first place. You got the wrong puzzle. This is kind of what conservatives do. So now they're very mad about bachelors because apparently we have a meaningless life, and what other reason to exist on this planet other than to procreate and raise progeny that will do the same thing? Instead of actually hey, make sure your life is valuable and happy as well. But you need wives and marriage for that. Well, now they're coming after the Dinks. Now, what is a Dink? A Dink is a dual income, no kid. These people actually are very similar to bachelors, except they're dumb enough to get married. And when I say dumb enough, because these guys really are not getting anything more out of it than someone to sleep with, someone to do some of the activities that you like to do. And guess what? That's right, 60% of the time they file and take all your stuff. So the new Dink goes viral on TikTok, promotes childlessness, empty existence. Now, what is the empty existence? These people are saying, I get to do what I want, when I want, whenever I want. If I want to fly to another country or go on vacation, I can. If I want to, whatever, sleep in till 11. Is that really a meaningless existence? I'll tell you, one of the best moments of my life, one of the most meaningful moments of my life was when I packed everything into a backpack and spent the next 15 or 16 months backpacking around the world. I think I visited in total 37 countries. I spent a couple weeks in each country and bounced to the next one. And someday I'm going to go back to my favorite countries. And I got to see so many different beautiful experiences and meet wonderful people and cultures and food. That's pretty meaningful. But because it doesn't match what conservatives think, well, that's wrong. And I'll tell you, before we even get into this, I'll tell you what conservatives get wrong. If conservatives really cared about the sanctity of marriage and raising children and not having all these single mothers, I got news for you. You're not going to convince women not to sleep around. You're not going to convince women from deleting their babies. What you can perhaps do, wait for it, change the laws that are screwing men and scaring them out of marriage, where they lose their shirts, they lose custody, all the other problems that come with marriage. But they never think about that because that requires thinking back 3 or 4 degrees. A new viral trend has emerged on TikTok and across social media that promotes a childless and empty existence for America's 20 and 30-somethings. See, now it does promote childlessness, but it doesn't promote an empty existence. This is what conservatives say is an empty existence because it doesn't match what they think. They call themselves Dinks, which stands for dual income, no kids. Couples post videos of themselves describing what they do as childless people with expendable income. Despite their projected glee, critics wonder if they're being sincere and wonder whether or not they're truly happy. Videos uploaded to TikTok features couples listing off the many activities they can do and claims that these can only be done because they don't have children to love. They say your Dinks. This is from Libby Emmons, who's a writer for the Post Millennial, I believe. I think she is. Let me hover over here for a second. Does it show? No, I think she is. You're Dinks, and absolutely no one will give a S about you when you get old. One of the arguments I hear all the time about bachelors, Dinks, whatever, I guess we're sinks, single income, no kids. One of the criticisms I always hear is oh, well, what happens when you're in your old age and no one's coming to see you and no one cares and you're in the old person's home and you're in your last year and then you go to your funeral and no one's there. Who cares? That is like the last year of your life. If you keep yourself in good health, you can be like Jack LaLanne. If many of you don't know who Jack LaLanne is, he's a guy in the 50s that used to be on TV, and he promoted health and activity and working out, and he even had a juicer, and they had him on infomercials and stuff. Like, this guy lived to be 100, and then he like just offed in his sleep. I think if you keep yourself relatively healthy and you do what you can to minimize carbohydrates and sugars and other things that they're finding gives you dementia, things like that, you can slip peacefully into the netherworld in your sleep instead of. And here's the thing. My grandfather, he ended up going a little bit la-la. He ended up in a home, and he had a wife, and he had my mother and father and myself, and everybody went to visit him. He didn't even know who we were. So even though he was married and had kids, he was so far out of it, he didn't know who he was. So the arguments are pretty weak when it's like, hey, take all these risks of getting married and having kids as you age, just so maybe you might get the gold mine at the end of they stick around and pay attention to you. Or you could just say, you know what, I'd rather have a bunch of guy friends that'll come and put me in the ground, and men that'll come and visit me when we're in the hospital. Another good example of that, a buddy of mine, he ended up doing something crazy on a motorcycle. I belonged to a motorcycle group. There were like 30 of us. He was a guy that was around 44 years of age. He went too fast around a corner, and he caught there were some leaves, because it was fall. There were some leaves that were wet on the concrete, or on the road, and he went into a very deep turn, doing probably 70 around a corner that was meant for 30, and normally he could go around it just fine, but his wheels hit those wet leaves or wet grass, whatever it was, that was sprinkled in the road, and he went off his motorcycle 70 miles an hour into a tree. It broke his back. It broke his neck, and it broke his back, and he was in the hospital. And a bunch of us went by and visited him, and we brought him like an iPad to watch stuff on. We sat with him. We spent time with him. You know who wasn't there? His family, because his mom and his other relatives were all in another state. And unfortunately, he didn't make it. But you know who was there for him? His guy friends, his motorcycle friends. We were giving him a hard time. Like, dude, we're going to have you on a trike now instead of a motorcycle. The problem was that he couldn't speak, and they had to keep him, what do they call it, intubated, and breathing machines had to keep his lungs going. And he decided he didn't want to live like that. He had him pull the tube, and 24 hours later, he wasn't with us anymore. But the point is, there's no promises, there's no guarantees in life. But you know what pretty much is a promise or a guarantee right now? That if you end up marrying the wrong woman, which is difficult to tell now who's a good one or a bad one, because they all lie to you about so much, there's a guarantee you're going to lose half your crap and half your income. I know a lot of guys that decide to not be with us anymore because of that too. They say we're dinks. We go to Trader Joe's and workout classes on the weekends. We get into snobby hobbies like skiing and golfing. We can go to Florida on a whim. We're already planning a European vacation next year. The name of the man who posted in the video is John Ingram, or Eringman. He is a social media influencer, has amassed 1.3 million followers on TikTok. His entire page is dedicated to helping those so-called dinks master their money. He said we get a full 8 hours of sleep and sometimes more. We get desserts and appetizers at restaurants. We can play with other kids and give them back. We still do it 3 times a week. I guess that means they still sleep with each other 3 times a week. I mean, that doesn't matter. How long have you been married? That'll change. The phenomenon emerges as a current culture war in America and throughout the West. Battles with the concept of the nuclear family. Conservatives have fought to protect traditional family values. Hold on.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, sir.
So conservatives have fought to protect traditional family values while not running for school boards and letting the LGHD TV community teach these kids a bunch of whacked up stuff. I don't see a whole lot of conservatives running for these school boards and taking positions away. I don't see them making culture. I don't see them making news. They just report on what the other news channels say. I don't see conservatives going to strike down these laws that overwhelmingly punish men in divorce and child custody. So what are they doing to fight the traditional family values? They're yelling at people like us, like bachelors that decide to not get settled down or not grow up. They decide to yell at these young couples that are spending their money and not having kids. This is on the Matt Walsh show. He says the DINK trend, double income, no kids, and a meaningless life of consumption and materialism. Let's listen to what Matt has to say.
Today on the Matt Walsh Show, there's been a major push this week to promote the so-called DINK community. These are the dual income, no kids, childless by choice folks who all say that their lifestyle is superior because it makes it so much easier to buy things. Also, the Daily Wire files a major lawsuit in defense of free speech. Donald Trump sends them.
Okay, he goes down into the news. But that's the opening, and then he has for 15 minutes, he yells at Dinks. Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist and host of the Charlie Kirk Show, said DINK videos are going viral on TikTok is a massive cope. It's no different from the shout your baby deletion trend. Bunch of morally bankrupt people who secretly feel guilty for being selfish parasites in a dumb attempt to normalize awful behavior. You know what I'd be curious to say? Hey, Charlie Kirk. Hey, Matt Walsh. Do you think a priest that devotes his life to the church is that a meaningless life? Is that a massive cope? Now, of course, they'd say, well, no, because he's giving himself to the greater good. How's he giving himself to the greater good? Well, he can support the community and and spread good message. Okay, you can do that as a bachelor. You can do that as a DINK. How do I know? This is what I'm doing. I'm sitting here trying to spread good message and make people, young men and older men alike, feel good that just because they don't follow the whims of what everybody else expects of them, they can still have a meaningful and full life. I've donated, now I haven't done it recently because I got a lot of, what do they call it, pans in the fire or irons in the fire, you could say. I haven't done this recently. I've donated time to homeless shelters and food kitchens where you sort out good farmers will drop off like raw foods. You separate the good from the spoiled and wash it up and prep it to go to a soup kitchen to be cooked and feed the homeless. I've done that. I've done Habitat for Humanity. I mean, I'm giving back to the community. But see, because it doesn't fall in line with the way they want you to give back to the community, that's why they hate on you, because you're selfish. I'll tell you something. If all the bachelors and all the DINKs and all the, the LGHD TV couples that can't have kids, but instead they decide to fix up their homes and their neighborhoods and host cocktail, like all this money goes into the economy. Do you think it just gets poured down the drain? There's a lot of young people right now spending a lot of money on stuff that they probably shouldn't even be spending money on, but it keeps the economy going. Again, it's always because you're not doing it in the way they think you should be doing it. He says, it's no different from the blah, 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 a bunch of morally bankrupt people who secretly feel guilty for being selfish parasites in a dumb attempt to normalize awful behavior. Hey, you know what? I pay taxes. I pay a ton of taxes. And guess what? That makes me not a parasite. I'm giving more than I'm taking from the system. You know who is a parasite? People who take my tax money and they don't work and they have 4 kids when they're single moms, taking all my tax money and using it to raise kids poorly, who aren't staying with the baby daddy, who are sleeping with men that are less than desirable and getting pregnant by them. That's a parasite. But see, because we're not having kids, we're not getting married, and it doesn't meet what these conservatives think we should be doing, that makes us parasites, you see. Conservative commentator and MMA fighter Malcolm Flex found the truth hard to fathom. He said the DINK phenomenon is incredibly stupid, but par for the course when IQ is dropped below acceptable levels while comforts in society have proliferated to a ridiculous degree. Imagine ending your genetic line for creature comforts. And again, okay, I've had 173 children. My genetic line will continue on for everything, except now I'm broke and the woman that I had these kids with, they've all left me. They've milked me for every dime I have. And the money I have left, I'm paying into taxes so the government can spend $25,000 to research why toilets cost the military $10,000. Oh, what a fulfilling, wonderful life. See, again, and this is what other content creators do as well. And this is why I push back against so much of this stuff. Then you'll have other guys out there that are like, just sleep with hundreds of women. Talk about a meaningful life. Have women desire you. Or commentators like Rich Cooper, like, oh, if you're not driving a fast car and you don't have money in the bank and you don't have women desiring you, what a meaningless life. A meaningful life is different for everyone. The whole point is, however, you should try to find meaning in your life. Look, I'm not normally on board with, people that are, I don't know, crazy lefties. These people aren't claiming that they're crazy. I got a couple of videos I'm going to play here in a second. They're not claiming anything. They're not hurting anybody. Yes, they're selfish, and yes, their taxes will, I don't know, pay for a bunch of people coming across the border, and they will take the job position that their kids might have had. But would you want a kid in our school systems right now? There are school systems where literally 100%, I think it was in one inner city Baltimore, where 100% of the kids in school came out and they weren't proficient in math or reading. There's kids that are getting stuck by sharp objects in school. There's kids that are getting in fights in school. We're not talking about like third world countries. We're talking about like Washington, D.C. and New York City. So I can't raise a kid like that. Oh, I'm supposed to homeschool them? So I give up, all of my life for, again, a homeschooled kid and my wife that stays at home? Okay, that's fine. But what if she wants to leave with the cash and prizes? See, you got to tackle the divorce problems first and the cultural problems first and the kid and the teacher problem and the education systems and all these other problems before men say, I think this is a good risk. I want to go for this. Can you really blame men or these dinks for being like, nah, I'm not so sure of this. Alec Lace, a father of 4 who has a podcast about fatherhood, claims that dinks will come to regret their decision. When dinks hit their 50s and see this video, they will look back on their life of materialism and consumerism, wondering how they got conned out of the greatest gift on this earth. Start a family, leave a legacy, Lace wrote. Now, maybe he's right. Maybe he is right. But the greatest gift on this earth might be a wife and children. Let's even say that's true. Okay? But they can be taken away from you by the woman. She can just walk and take the kids most of the time. Then you don't even get to have the life of materialism and consumerism because you have no money. She took your house and your cars and your kids and everything. So what do you have? Literally zero. Now, I am 51 years old as of this year. I'll tell you a great story. I look back on my life and I have not had any children. I've attempted to get married, got divorced, didn't work out so well. I'll tell you right now, I am happier today, right now, today, this very day, today. I'm happier today than I was ever in my 40s, 30s, and 20s as a single man, as a married man, as a man that was going through a divorce, as everything else. Why? Because I now know what makes me happy. You know what makes me happy? Solitude, thinking, reading, travel. It may not be the same for everybody, but the point is each man must find his own place to make him happy. It's not up to conservatives or these leftards or anybody else telling you what makes you happy. That's why I never tell you, guys, the way to a happy life is money or cars or this or that, because it's not the same for everybody. I will say chase some dreams. I will say have short, medium, and long-term goals for your life. And if you do want to date and you do want to have a wife and kids, here's the best way maybe to go about it. See, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of kind of being like IDGAF about everything. Because it's like, look, do what works best for you, as long as it doesn't harm everybody else or society. Nothing I do harms anyone. Nothing I do harms society, although some people might disagree with that. Let's listen to one of these. I think this one's the couple. Yeah, this one's the couple. And I think, let's see. This is more of an interview. Let's go to the one where people are wandering around enjoying pizza, and she's going to leave him eventually because she's cute and he's getting kind of fat and busted from eating too much pizza. I guarantee this is a divorce waiting to happen.
Why is nobody talking about being Dinks? Well, I'm freshly married and I'm going to talk about it. Here's her life as Dinks in her early 30s.
Okay, she's freshly married. Both of them are happy right now. That'll change, and I will welcome him into the Bachelor community in 6 years.
No shocker here, folks. Today we went to Costco. We don't have kids to feed, but we got lots of money to spend on goodies. Brian always checks out while I get a box, and then I sit here and look cute. Here's the haul, and our total was $252. The register game at Costco never gets old. You cannot tell me that grocery shopping and a fresh slice of Costco pizza isn't a good date night. I mean, you can tell me that, but I don't believe it. Obviously, we had car cookies for dessert, and yeah, I will probably just make this a series now, so follow on.
These people are going to be 300 pounds in like 5 years. I'm just saying.
For more DINK content.
Okay, that's all there is to that one. Okay, I'm not going to hate on him, though. I'm not going to hate on him. It's easy to hate on him. I think he's crazy for getting married. And because we know, here's the thing. She's, excuse me, that snuck up on me. Here's the thing. It's easy to hate on them, but let's be honest, okay? She's thin. He's getting a little bit heavy. She's going to go to yoga class or she's going to go to the gym, and some dude who's probably as successful or more successful than him is going to make the move. She's going to look at old, fat, and busted over here, and she's going to be like, you know what? I'm still kind of hot. I'm going to move on. And then he's going to be a bachelor like the rest of us, and then she can be a dink with her new man. I know that's a very negative view about this, but it's really kind of how everything goes. It never changes. I mean, just because we bring up another topic, it doesn't mean that this married couple, because they're dinks, has any better a chance at anything else. And you know something? If she makes good money and he makes good money, they split things amicably and go even, and he walks away relatively scot-free. He doesn't get absolutely raked over the coals because of the kids. So maybe this is the smarter way to get married than having the kids. It's certainly smarter than knocking the girl up first and then marrying her, because she's going to bounce at some point. I don't know. Maybe this guy's the smart go. This is the smart way to go. Maybe this is the smart guy. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. I thought this was an interesting topic because, again, conservatives don't know how to fight the culture war. You know, they're waiting till they're on the battlefield and they're already losing, and then they're like, hey, we should come up with a plan. Now, come up with a plan first, they're geniuses, and the plan is not to attack people that want to live differently than you. The plan's not to come to the battle at the end. It's to go back and say, fix schools, fix people, fix social media, fix the way people view the world, fix people being selfish, fix marriage, fix divorce, fix all this stuff. Then you have a shot. You can't just show up at the end, though, and expect different results. Guys, don't forget, if you are here, please become a member over at betterbachelor.locals.com. It's an email. That's all it costs you to go over there. And then you can become a supporter and watch live streams and movie nights. And I've recently streamed a couple of Buffalo games, Buffalo football, because I'm a fan, and they're horrible. So you get to watch me rant and scream as we all enjoy snacks and memes and laughs. So please come over and become a supporter today, and we'll see you in the next one.